Well, hey guys, in today's video, I'm gonna be covering the 10 worst DIY skincare hacks I've come across on the internet. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Andrea. I'm a board certified dermatologist. I would love it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the thumbs up. It really helps my channel out a lot. With stay-at-home orders in place, the enthusiasm for DIY skincare has taken an uptick over the past several months to a year. And if you go online, you're gonna find some pretty scary remedies. Number one, papaya face masks. I guess the idea is that people pursue these because papaya, the fruit, is rich in antioxidants as well as enzymes that can exfoliate the skin. The problem with doing this is that papaya has papain in it. Now, papain is what is responsible for the exfoliating. Papain, as a side note, is the active ingredient in meat tenderizer. Papain is a non-selective protease enzyme, and it just kind of chews stuff up is what that means. And it's active across a broad spectrum of pH values. And papain can generate a pretty inflammatory reaction in the skin, so it's not a good idea to go putting just papaya fruit on the skin. I've personally never been a fan of papaya in skincare products for this reason, but at least presumably when you're buying a skincare product, the manufacturer has, extracted certain components and, maybe it's at a much lower concentration than just putting the straight up fruit on your skin. In medicine, we use papain in combination with urea actually to debride bed sores and big ulcers on the leg. And so it's nothing to muck around with and DIY yourself. So I say stay away from the papaya face mask trend for that reason. Number two, this should come as no surprise from those of you who have watched any number of my videos, but it's using essential oils in DIY skincare remedies. Essential oils are problematic for the skin. They can cause burns, irritation, and photodermatitis. Basically, you apply it to the skin, and when the skin comes in contact with ultraviolet radiation, it can generate a pretty nasty rash. And, the essential oil market, it is kind of a shady business. They're always, hawking essential oils, claiming that they're the end-all be-all solution for all life's problems, but they can actually be pretty dangerous, and they're not regulated like pharmaceuticals, so you never really know the quality of the essential oil that you're getting, and people will make some blanket statement like, go with a reputable distributor, yeah, whatever. Skip the essential oil DIYs, bad news bears. Even if it is a good essential oil, it can still cause these burns and things. Specifically, people are really enthusiastic in the DIY realm of using tea tree oil to treat like acne, and tea tree oil, it actually has been shown to be helpful for acne, but not any more helpful than standard of care treatments. And even though it's helpful, it actually comes with a higher risk of side effects of irritation and contact dermatitis. Now, when it comes to any essential oil, whether it be tea tree oil or lavender oil or whatever, the other thing to bear in mind is that essential oils, it's not a pure substance. It's not a pure reproducible substance. So you can get a lot of variation from batch to batch in terms of the actual ingredients that might be helpful versus those that are harmful. The other thing about essential oils is that because they're not pure substances, they degrade with time, and they can actually become more irritating, especially when exposed to light, air, etc. So I say skip essential oils, especially in the DIY realm for sure. It can really just cause a lot of problems. Number three, this is popular. I think it's really popular in India actually, but it's made its way onto Pinterest as well. And that is lemon juice for skin brightening. Bad idea. Lemon juice is pretty acidic. Now your skin barrier is actually acidic, but lemon juice has a lower pH. And that can be problematic for your skin barrier. It can disrupt moisture barrier function, and it can weaken the skin barrier, making your skin more prone to dryness. But importantly, it can cause chemical burns on the skin. Bad idea. Not only that, but lemon juice definitely can cause a photodermatitis, any citrus fruit actually. Meaning when it's on the skin and then your skin sees ultraviolet radiation from the sun, it generates these mediators that cause a really severe inflammatory dermatitis that heals with hyperpigmentation. So kind of the opposite of what you're seeking out when you do a DIY lemon juice remedy. It actually can put you more at risk for hyperpigmentation. you know, as well as chemical burns. So skip any lemon juice DIY. Number 4, DIY scrubs. These are not like, you know, as worrisome per se as like the lemon juice thing or the papaya, but they definitely can become problematic. And it's fine, you know, if you used it once or twice, like on a rough elbow, probably not gonna cause any problems. But using DIY scrubs like on a consistent basis, it's not the most precise way to exfoliate the skin, and it generates micro tears in the top layer of the skin that actually lead to more water loss out of your skin, dryness, irritation. So I say skip the DIY scrub. Same reason I'm not a fan of like the St. Ives apricot scrub or any kind of mechanical scrub out there. They're just not a precise or efficient way to exfoliate, and they can cause more irritation, more dryness, and anything that causes more irritation ultimately can worsen hyperpigmentation. As a side note on the cinnamon, because I've seen cinnamon in a lot of these DIY scrubs, cinnamon has cinnamic aldehyde in it, and that's actually a vasodilator. It can worsen redness and inflammation in the skin. Do not put cinnamon on your skin. Yeah. Number 5. This is really popular in the DIY deodorants and whatnot, and that is baking soda. You don't want to put baking soda on your skin. I mean, like, you know, if you're doing housework and it touches your skin, fine, you're not going to combust. But baking soda is very irritating to the skin and very caustic. Remember what I said, your skin barrier, it has more of an acidic pH. Baking soda, on the other hand, has a pH of about 8. That is very alkaline. That's a basic pH. And that caustic pH will disrupt the acid mantle, leading to more water loss out of the skin and more dryness and more irritation. Bad idea to go putting baking soda on the skin. Not only that, baking soda is pretty abrasive too, so it can create a lot of non-specific mechanical exfoliation that ends up over drying out the skin further, leading to worsening dryness, inflammation, etc. So baking soda is just not a good idea to be putting on your skin. Number 6, sort of along the same lines as the baking soda, but with an additional insult, is using toothpaste to treat a pimple. Now, the reason it's a bad idea to put toothpaste on a pimple is that toothpaste, like baking soda, is, you know, a caustic pH. So that alone is going to disrupt the acid mantle, worsen dryness and irritation. And one thing people with acne are not always aware of is that drying out the skin actually will worsen the acne, because when the skin is dry, it's more prone to irritation, and that irritation drives more inflammatory mediators into the skin that lead to worsening acne and inflammation that ultimately also can heal with hyperpigmentation, another thing you don't want. So yeah, you don't want to do the toothpaste remedy for that reason, kind of similar to the baking soda. But another thing about toothpaste is that toothpaste also has a very high concentration often of sodium lauryl sulfate. Now, sodium lauryl sulfate is a surfactant. You find it in cleansers, shampoos, etc. It can be very irritating on the skin as is when formulated into cleansers and things like that. But in toothpaste, it's at a very high concentration. And when left on the skin, that can cause a lot of disruption of the moisture barrier, irritation, which is not a good idea. In fact, that high concentration of SLS in the toothpaste is thought to be a triggering factor for some people's perioral dermatitis. Yet another reason not to put toothpaste around your, on your skin. Number 7, it's not necessarily bad or problematic, but I thought I would throw it in here because I think a lot of people, get misled on this one, and that is using oil instead of a face cream moisturizer. Oils, they're emollients. They help soften dry skin, smooth stuff down, and they make your skin look great. But it's kind of a temporary moisturization. There aren't really humectants or necessarily occlusives as you would get any moisturizer that's formulated with those things. Humectants add hydration into the skin, and occlusives seal everything in. You might have some of that depending on the oil, but you really want a dedicated moisturizer that has those 3 components: emollient, humectant, and occlusive, to really, trap in that hydration in the skin, add more hydration, and smooth everything out. Using an oil, it's just kind of like plucking out some of that and using it by itself, just not as good. Now, depending on the oil that you use, some oils actually can aggravate acne for some people. And because again, like the essential oils, oils are just not pure substances. So they can, you know, certain compounds within them can degrade with time and cause irritation. So I don't recommend just using oils as moisturizers, although I know a lot of people do and have no issue with it. But to me, it's just, like I said, plucking out a few of the key components of a moisturizer. You know, I know like squalane and jojoba seed oil and coconut oil. I mean, people use those, love them, swear by them, and they're not gonna turn back, and they haven't developed any issue with them. Fine, it's not gonna cause long-term health consequences. But if you're like on Pinterest one night and you're like, oh, instead of repurchasing my moisturizer, I think I'm gonna go into the kitchen and slather olive oil all over my face, I gotta tell you, just stick to your moisturizer. Number 8 is a vinegar toner. Vinegar, similar to lemon juice, you know, you got an acidic pH, and people want to put vinegar on their skin to, you know, normalize the pH or for pH balance. But it can actually weaken the function of the moisture barrier if you're using it consistently, meaning more than once. And it also can cause chemical burns and irritation. So I don't recommend these vinegar DIY toners. While, you know, it's once or twice may not hurt you, the risk is compounded if that's going to be your skincare product moving forward for the next few weeks. You're likely to develop irritation, potentially chemical burn that can heal with hyperpigmentation, and more photosensitivity. So I don't recommend DIY vinegar skincare. Number 9 is anything peroxide, like using hydrogen peroxide as a toner, face wash, anything like that. Hydrogen peroxide is pretty irritating to the skin. And you know, traditionally people have always taken a little peroxide and put it on a cut to disinfect it. And you know, typically that's fine, although it does impair wound healing. So we generally recommend just not bothering with that. But using it all over this, like to a widespread area of the skin that, you know, not a cut or anything that you're trying to disinfect as like part of your everyday skincare, yeah, it can be very, very irritating to the skin. It impairs healing, you know, it generates a lot of irritation and inflammation for the skin. It's just not a good thing. Last but not least, probably the worst DIY skincare that you could do, I mean, just don't even think about it. Don't even think about it, is DIY sunscreen. You cannot DIY your sunscreen, period. Don't think that, you know, you're gonna buy some zinc online or titanium dioxide online, powdered form, and mix it in with coconut oil and smear it on your skin. Oh my God, no, no, don't do it. You will not get UV protection. Very dangerous, so do not DIY sunscreen. I used to get this question a fair amount, and I don't get it as much, probably because I've addressed it in several videos. People always ask, could you use diaper rash cream, which the active ingredient is zinc oxide, as a sunscreen? No, you can't. You know, sunscreen manufacturing and formulation is very, very, very tricky. And it has to form a film on the skin and so that the active ingredients disperse evenly. And I mean, there are all these things that go into it. Plus, you know, the manufacturer has to do MED testing to show that, you know, what the SPF is. You're not going to be able to reproduce that just by mixing zinc oxide into like coconut oil, no. And coconut oil by itself, I think I've seen some people claim that coconut oil is a sunscreen. No, it is not. It's not. Likewise, some people claim that carrot seed oil is a natural sunscreen. You can't use carrot seed oil as a sunscreen. It's not going to give you protection that you need from ultraviolet radiation. It may have some components in it that, you know, have UV absorbing properties, but it's not going to protect you from a burn. Carrot seed oil, you know, it's not a bad ingredient, but don't just get carrot seed oil and put it on your skin and think that's sunscreen. Not a good idea. You will burn and or, you know, increase your risk of skin cancer. All right, y'all, those are the 10 DIY. Somebody out there did not like the idea of DIY. Those are the 10 worst DIY skincare hacks that I have heard, seen, come across through late night scrolling on Pinterest. I'm on Pinterest, by the way, for those of you who are into Pinterest. I know it had its moment, but it's actually still thriving. And the same black hole of time that it ever was, where you get on there and you're like, I love Pinterest. Anyways, yeah, those are the 10 worst skincare hacks. Did I already tell you guys that? Yeah. You know what this video is about, so I'm not gonna reiterate that. But I do have some videos on some DIY skincare that is not horrible, namely my oat mask and my rice water mask. So I will link those down below for you guys if you are, you know, interested in doing some DIYs. They're not all horrible. I don't like blanket statements like DIY skincare is bad. But it can be bad, and these are some examples of where it definitely can be bad. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.